want to welcome everybody, and I think people will continue to join us as we start the presentations. I'm afraid the time changed. We had the wrong time, so hopefully people will get the message and join us as we go along. We have 90 people signed up, so I'm hoping we'll get at least 30 or 40 people by the time we really get going. But again, welcome to everybody, and thank you for coming to our November World Kamishibai Forum workshop. We're very excited to have two very accomplished presenters today. Now everybody's joining, so maybe I should give myself a few moments. Here we go. Okay, welcome. So today I'm really very excited because we have two presenters who not only have worked a lot with children who are toddlers and infants, but also they bring so many interesting talents. Sakiko Yoko'o speaks Spanish fluently and Japanese and English. She'll be presenting in English today. And Manuel is Filipino Australian, so she speaks Filipino and English and also Thai. She's lived in Thailand for many years. So they will be sharing all their exciting work, and I don't want to take too much of the time. I just want to remind everybody to stay muted so that we can hear them. I will be spotlighting them, and in between their presentations, we'll have time for questions, and also please put your questions in the chat, and Donna and I will be monitoring that so we can ask questions in between the sessions and at the end of the sessions. So today we'll start with Sakiko because she's really worked with very young children. She has a wonderful story that I got to see in Mexico about, I think, 4 or 5 years ago now, for infants. And I just thought it was so wonderful. So I've asked her to present that and talk about her work for really, really young children. She's also a Buddhist priest. We've had 2 Buddhist priests in a row for the World Kamishibai Forum, and she does many cultural programs in Mexico. She lives in Mexico to create a bridge between Mexican and Japanese culture. So I'm going to take a moment to spotlight her so everyone can see her, and please welcome Sakiko Yoko'o. She's also a dancer. She has so many talents. I can't present them all now, but I think you'll see some of them in the course of this presentation. So please, Sakiko, welcome, and thank you so much for your presentation today.
Thank you so much for our organization. I share my PowerPoint.
Yes, please.
Okay. Okay. Hello, everybody. I start my presentation, Kamishibai for Babies. My name is Sakiko Yoko'o. Please call me Saki. I'm Japanese, but I live in Mexico City now. First, let me introduce myself. I was born in Yamagata, northern Japan, 1979. My mother, Reiko, studied Japanese literature, and she was a volunteer narrator for the blind. I can say that it's one of important influence for my formation as a narrator. I grew up in a province where there was no library ni theater. My childhood was happy making flower crowns and climbing apple trees, but I really wanted to get closer to culture and also get to know other countries. So I studied dance therapy at university in Tokyo, later seeking a place for practical research I participated in the program of volunteer of JICA, Japanese International Cooperation Agency. Then I was sent to Mexico. It was my destiny. And I married a Mexican artist, and together we founded an association to be a cultural link between Mexico and Japan. One day in Tokyo downtown, my husband saw Gaito Kamishibai. The story was very interesting and critical. For me, Kamishibai was something normal, just one of nice memories. But my Mexican husband was very surprised and said, "What's this? It's very simple, but very deep. We have to study well about Kamishibai to introduce to Mexico." So we went to knock the door of the International Kamishibai Association of Japan. She is Miss Noriko Matsui, one of the pioneers of educational Kamishibai. And her daughter, Eiko Matsui, she's my teacher. Eiko Matsui is also a muralist, so she has a great admiration for Mexico, the land of murals. When I told her that she was very happy and generously taught me many things of Kamishibai. I had the honor of inviting her to the International Children's and Youth Book Fair in Mexico City, 2018. This is how I became a Kamishibai artist in Mexico. This is my favorite photography of my works. When I played in a kindergarten in Quito, Ecuador, 2018. Imagination of children is amazing, right? Since 2011, I have promoted the art of Kamishibai in Mexico and other Latin American countries. I haven't counted how many shows I've done, but thinking about what I do once a week, then in 12 years, I've already done 576 shows. On average, there are 30 viewers, so I have shared Kamishibai with 70,280 people in Mexico and other countries. I'm very surprised and I'm very happy also. Generally, I work with children, but I want to use the magical power of Kamishibai in many scenes. So recently, I'm making some original pieces about the history of friendship between Japan and Mexico. And now I will talk about my Kamishibai works for and with babies. In 2015, Eva Hanowitz, who was chief of art for early childhood of the Secretary of Culture of Mexico, said to me, "Sakiko, you have to present Kamishibai for babies." And I said, "For babies? Oh no." So I started researching about books for babies. These books are examples. As you observed, these books consist of a series of abstract drawings. Also, they don't have certain history, but rather they have a great variety of onomatopoeias as a soundscape. At that time, I had my 5-month-old baby, so she was my great inspiration. I created this piece my first work of Kamishibai for babies, Mama Luna. Let's start the show. I stop share. Okay. Ma, 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 ma. Ma, 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 Mama Luna, Mama Luna, na, 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 na. Yoko, 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 yoko. You, 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 you. Kaku, 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 shikaku. You, 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 you. Guru, 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 guru. Guru, 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 guru. Guru, 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 guru. Guru, 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 guru. Huh? New. Ma, 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 ma. Ma, 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 ma. Ma, 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 ma. Mama Luna, na, 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 na. Mama Luna, Mama Luna, na, 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 na. Muchas gracias. Thank you so much. I continue my presentation, but any questions?
I have a question. I love this. This is the second time I've seen it. I think it's so beautiful. You combine the abstraction, but the language combines Spanish and Japanese. Right? It's like koro koro, goro goro, and shikaku, shikaku. So you're teaching very early language to babies, but it's also universal.
I don't have intention to teach languages. I just playing with sounds. So
I was wondering what has been the reaction of the babies And
the
the
baby
babies.
like that.
Mhm.
Very concentrated, very happy.
That's great.
It's amazing.
Mhm.
Okay, so I continue. Okay.
Yes, please.
Um, okay. Okay. I'd like to talk about 2 points, onomatopoeia and abstract expression. First, here you can see onomatopoeia of manga and said, dododo, go go go, spa, ga ga ga, da, don, zawa, baki, don. Maybe we Japanese people you use many onomatopoeias. No? Okay, a haiku teacher says, onomatopoeia expresses feelings and situations that are difficult to explain accurately and deeply. It's becoming more and more important as a technique that expresses feelings and are difficult to put into words and draws out the primitive senses of humans. So we can say onomatopoeia is very rich poetically. Now, let's see onomatopoeia from the point of view of cognitive development of a baby. It is said that by the time a babbling occurs, the movement of the baby becomes active. The baby can move the arms up and down, and the facial expressions will become richer. Gradually, they begin to utter babbling while moving their limbs, and vocalization becomes a means of conveying their emotions. Babies used to have no means of expressing their emotions other than through crying. But they have come to understand that vocalization is also a way of communication. It's easier to invite babbling if you use words that your baby can easily pronounce. For the above reasons, I think the use of onomatopoeia is very significant in Kamishibai for babies. Now, let's see abstract expressions. What is abstract art? Abstract art is the kind of art that emphasizes the use of non-representational forms to create meaning and reality. Meaning that it doesn't necessarily represent objects in the physical environment, like the sun, trees, or people. Since there are no subjects, we can identify in abstract art, the meaning of it becomes subjective. Rather, that is the entire point of abstract art, that reality is in fact subjective. Anyone can make of it what they will because we are all different at the core. Therefore, I think that artistic and abstract stimulation is very important to encourage sensitivity of each baby. It can avoid standardization. Now, I'd like to talk about standardization a little more. It's Japanese school, Japanese extra school. I'm not saying that Japanese education is bad, but I don't think it's very good either. It's something that promotes standardization with an emphasis of the amount of knowledge, and it's not to develop each person's creativity and thinking ability. Sadly, very sadly, suicide is the leading cause of death among young people in Japan, and poor academic performance is the leading cause of suicide for children. Such a society is unhealthy. That's why I think it's very, very important to do what you love. Like this. Activities to develop creativity of each one, like these photographies, are very important, I think. Dr. Shigeo Miki was a wonderful anatomist. His book, The Function of the Internal Organs and the Mind of a Child, has become a Bible for many Japanese artists. In that book, he explained about 5 signs of healthy growth for 6 years old. What is healthy? 5 signs of healthy growth for 6 years old. Can you guess? Let's see. To have friends. Second, can you guess? He can get married or she can get married. Looks so nice. Third, can you guess? He or she can use scissors. Fourth, can you guess? He is or she is friend of bags. And fifth, can you guess? Sleep well. That's all. It's very simple, right? But in modern society, we make all complicated. That's why I love Kamishibai, because it's very simple that lets us contemplate. Okay, to close my presentation, I'm going to narrate a love story for all babies. Okay, I stop share and I start my presentation. Muchas gracias. ありがとうございました。Thank you
So
very
what-
much. That's all.
Thank you so much. I hadn't seen the second one, but it's equally wonderful. You use a lot of singing as well as onomatopoeia. So can you talk a little bit about how you come up with your songs, your singing voice?
何ですか？すみません。
だから歌も取り入れてるわけですね。
はいはいはい。
言いたいことかそういうのだけじゃなくて、だからその歌はどういうふうに作りますか？なんか。
It's just improvisation. But, I use a melody of famous songs also, but I improvise also. そうですね。depend on the public.
So you change
public.
it? 語るときは毎回違いますか？それともいつも同じですか？
ちょっと違うかもしれません。
So it does change a little bit depending on the audience.
Yes, depend on.
I love how you use all the techniques of Kamishibai, like the sudden pulling of the card and the like partial pulling of the card, but you're not telling a conventional story, but you have all the drama of the Kamishibai techniques. That was wonderful. Okay, so we did have one question. So when you tell the story to babies, what do they try to imitate the sounds that you make? This was a story song. Sorry, I didn't write down who asked that question. Let me see if I can find. But 語るその擬態語とか擬音語を使うときに赤ちゃんたちも真似しますか？見ている間とか後で。Oh, this is a question from Lily Carasquillo.
本当にちっちゃい赤ちゃんはじーって見てるだけで真似しないんですけど、2歳とか3歳ぐらいになると真似したり、あとは例えばこれを見たら、そうthe sun or ball something、もうif he or if they なんだ know the words、そうですね。でも本当にちっちゃい赤ちゃんはこうやって見てます。
So the really small infants just stare at the pictures and are very intrigued by the action of the cards. But when the children are like 2 or 3 years old, they might imitate the sounds, or they'll contribute what they know. Like in that card, they will say, "Oh, it's the sun," or something that they're familiar with. But the really little ones just stare because it's so intriguing. And then we had, let's see. Oh, we have lots of questions now. What responses do you get from the parents? This is from Eleanor, Clement Glass. 親たち、ご父兄の皆さんの反応はどうですか？
いいですよね。やっぱりお父さんお母さんたちも大変じゃないですか。赤ちゃんは可愛いけど、やっぱり疲れるから。なんかこういう紙芝居の時とかがとっても大切な時間、子供抱っこしてお話だけを楽しむっていう、純粋に お話を楽しむ時間っていうのがやっぱりとっても大切なんですよね。そこにすごく喜んでくれるし、あとはびっくりするお父さんお母さんもいます。こんなに赤ちゃんが何かに夢中になってじーっと聞いてるっていうことはなかったから、びっくりしたと。そういう人もいます。はい。
So the parents are, many parents of little children are very tired. So when they come to these presentations, they're just so impressed by the way the children are really focused in a way that they don't often see them. Yeah, I don't know, Donna, is there something else I left out?
She also said that they're also surprised very often to see how intrigued their babies are by the images and by the Kamishibai. Yes.
Yeah, then we have a question. Do you prepare the parents for listening, participating with their babies when you tell the story? 親たちに何かそのお話をされる前に何か準備しますか？例えばお話の途中で何を例えば赤ちゃんとどんな姿勢をとったらいいかとか、そういう指導か何かしますか？
どうでしょうね。私はダンサーでもあるので、お話、こういう紙芝居と紙芝居の間に手遊びをしたりとか、あと足のマッサージとか、で足もなんていうのか、歌とマッサージ、足遊びとマッサージ。で、そういう楽しみながら、スティミュレーションをするっていうのを、できるだけ楽しい形で、伝えたりしています。
So in between the stories, because Saki is also a dancer and she does a lot with movement, she teaches the parents and the children sort of finger songs and poems, and then as sort of a singing massage of their feet and things that are just fun to do with the babies. So she's kind of teaching the parents along with the storytelling in between the stories. And then we have a question from Isabel. May we see the back of the wooden frame? 舞台の後ろを見てもいいですかって。真っ白ですね。So you don't have the text or anything on the back of the cards. Yeah.
白いですね。
白いですね。
No text.
Yeah, that's how my cards are too. That's how you can improvise if you don't have anything written on the back. Okay, let's see. So there are lots of wonderful comments about how much people なんか本当に素晴らしい、すごいっていうコメントたくさんありますから、後で送らせていただきます。
ありがとうございます。Thank you so much.
Okay, we have one more question. Do you have discoveries to share about the length of time you keep a card up for the babies to see? だからその一つ一つの場面はどれぐらい長く赤ちゃんの前でなんかその抜くまでになんかどれぐらいの長さ置いておくのかっていう。
普通の赤ちゃんじゃなくて、普通の、子供、小学生とかだったら、マックス1分なんですけど、赤ちゃんだったら、その半分ぐらいですかね。30秒、30 seconds max, maybe.
So even with older children, you don't keep the card up very long, like maybe 1 or 2 minutes at most. So with a baby, it's like half that time, like 30 seconds. So you really have to keep the story moving with the Kamishibai story. Okay,
Tara, just one comment I noticed. Tai Tao from Thailand, I guess. She said her 11-month-old baby was watching Saki perform her Kamishibai and was fascinated by the sounds.
And that's amazing on Zoom, not even in person.
So タイの方の11ヶ月の赤ちゃんも見てましたって一緒に。
そう
喜んでま
で
した。
も夢中になって話してました。
Thank you so much.
Okay, we'll ask there's 3 more questions and then we'll move on to the next presentation and we can ask more questions afterwards. How do you choose the topics and themes for your audience? トピックとかテーマはどういうふうに決められるかっていうことですね。
どうなんでしょうね。なんかテーマっていうよりも、なんかそのシェアする、その赤ちゃんと一緒に楽しむ。赤ちゃんのその目線、赤ちゃんのその、ポイントオブビューに合わせるっていうか、そういうところですよね。なんかこの赤ちゃんと対話する、赤ちゃんとお話しするっていうことを一番に考えて、で、赤ちゃんが一番こう興味を持つもの、面白いと思うものは何だろうっていうことですよね。だから大人のこういう言葉、言語を教えるとか押し付けるのではなくて、自分がその赤ちゃんに戻るっていうか、そういうところですかね。そこを一番大事にしています。
So it's not so much about choosing topics or themes, but really trying to get into the mind of a baby and what a baby would want to look at and how to share those feelings with a baby. So that's really where her focus is, not so much on coming up with a theme or a specific topic. And Tai Tao just said she's from Vietnam, so apologies for that. And we have a question from Eleanor. How long is your whole program for infants and toddlers? そのプログラムの長さ、赤ちゃんの場合はどれぐらい長くしますか？
赤ちゃんの場合は長くて30分ぐらいですかね。
So the longest program is about half an hour. And ごめんなさい、どうぞ。
紙芝居が、2つか3つぐらいと、あとエプロンシアターっていうのをやるんですけど、なんかそのエプロンからいろんなものが出てきたりとか、あとはそうそう。はい。あとは歌ったり、手遊びしたり、マッサージしたり。はい。
Yeah, so it's not just Kamishibai. She might do 2 or 3 Kamishibai stories. And then she also does an apron theater. So she has an apron where lots of different things come out. And then also the massage and the singing and the hand play. So it all together, it's about half an hour. And then do you create the illustrations? They are so perfect for toddlers and young audiences. ご自分で絵を描いてますね。その赤ちゃん用の紙芝居は。
そうですね。
さきさんの絵ですね。
絵が下手くそで。
そんなことないです。皆さんとっても美しいって言ってますから。Yeah, so they are all her own illustrations.
それは切り絵なんか紙を切って。
なるほど。So this is an example of cut paper that she's made like collage onto colored board. So you can see how the abstraction is with the cut paper.
そうですね。cut papers. これだと絵が描けなくても結構綺麗にできます。
Yeah, and Lily just asked about the integrating finger play, and yes, she did say that she integrates finger play as well. And this is a question from Anna. Have you ever considered toddler baby artwork for your stories? 赤ちゃんの描いた絵を紙芝居にすることは考えたことありますか？
あります、あります。たまに、この間やってみたんですけど、紙芝居を聞きに来た家族、全員にその場で書いてもらって、その場でみんなで紙芝居を作るっていうことをやったことがあります。
いいですね。Yeah, so she has done that with like families coming to programs, and then everybody works on a kamishibai together and presents it at that event. Wonderful. 何か他にさきさん。
それをすいません。さっきその種の絵を描いて、その 種が芽が出て大きくなって花が咲くんですけど、それを1枚ずついろんな家族に書いてもらって、で、メキシコのそのインディヘナの言葉、ナワトル語、ナワトル語で、なんだっけな、マシュカトゥリポーネ、花よ咲けっていう言葉なんですけど、それをみんなでその唱えながら、そうすると、種からどんどん芽が出てって花が咲くっていう。ずっとその言うのはマシュカトリポーネ、マシュカトリポーネ、マシュカトリポーネだけなんですけど、そういうのをやりました。
So it's a story with the families in Mexico. She had them create stories where they're the flowers coming out of a seed, the growth of a flower out of a seed, and then it flowers. And then in the indigenous language they're saying, you know, the flower blooms, and they repeat that as the flower continues to grow. So that was a story she did with the families and children creating the story as well. Wonderful. Thank you so much. In the interest of time, we're going to move on to our next presenter, Manuel, who hardly needs an introduction because she presented at our last World Kamishibai Forum. So I want to thank Saki, and I'm going to now spotlight Manuel. And she's going to be presenting on her work with somewhat older children, maybe moving more into toddlers, and introduce what she's been doing with that as well. And if you have further questions for both Saki and Anna at the end, we should be able to catch up with those. So keep putting them in the chat. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you for having me again, Tara, Donna, Walter, the World Kamishibai Forum. Thank you so much for this platform to keep sharing what I found is close to magical in my work with children. Just to start off the presentation, I would like to acknowledge the Wurundjeri people from whose land I will return to in a few weeks' time, in a week or so. That's in Melbourne. And I'm currently in Manila, in Marikina, where I was born, where I was raised. And I would like to acknowledge the descendants of Lakandula. Before the Augustinian and Jesuit priests decided to take over the land. And so a little bit about me. My background is in education, and I was teaching English, and I worked in the Philippines, in Thailand, and in Australia. And I worked with a lot of bilingual and multilingual children and children who are starting to learn English. And so I was looking for, I've always used stories because I feel, and I see, and there is research on how stories are really engaging and inspiring for children to learn a language, whether it's their home language or a second or a third language even. And so my work in the classroom has translated quite well into my work as a storyteller. And it propelled me to thinking more expansively about incorporating, you know, how creative and a creative educational experience that I can provide for children outside of the four walls of the classroom. And with Kamishibai, I found how children can have fun and be engaged and feel like they're seen and heard in a public space experience. And so I started telling stories through read-alouds, incorporating music and movement, just like Sakiko, doing transitions in between stories. And I usually would end with a visual art activity for kids. These are all great. But when you do something for a long time, you tend to seek other forms of storytelling. And so it wasn't until I found Kamishibai through my Japanese family network in Bangkok in 2015 that I found a tool that is engaging through across ages and across cultures. And so I started using Kamishibai with kindergarten kids that I was working at that time. And I didn't realize how toddlers can be as engaged or even more engaged with storytelling with me when I use Kamishibai. And when I use this with families, a lot of parents have told me it's like slow TV. So it's a screen. The stage, the botai, looks like a screen, but when you tell the story, it's slow. It's slower than TV. It's slower than any device or animation. And so in itself, the presentation, like when kids enter a room and see the stage, like, what is it? So from the moment they step inside the room, they are already engaged. And because a lot of kids would be familiar with picture books, or at least the kids have worked with familiar with picture books. Well, versus picture books, where we see everything in one go. If you open the pages with Kamishibai, it's more like the peekaboo, the what's coming next kind of effect, and that in itself is very engaging for very young kids. Coming from my education background, I find that Kamishibai also taps into different early literacy skills. So word object correspondence, what will happen next. So that's inferencing, that's predicting, and then all integration of different pieces of information, especially visual, and then you can have the kinesthetic and then the oral information. I believe it's multiple literacies. And I think Kamishibai or not, when we tell stories, it's more about the stories themselves. It's about the experience around the story that works really well for kids. So from the moment we say hello, and then we introduce how we introduce the stage or what Kamishibai is, and then telling the stories, the transitions until we say goodbye. That's the whole experience that the children will benefit a lot from. Okay, so I think I'm ready to start with a story, and how I usually begin a session. This is, I guess, changing the atmosphere a bit. So I include songs, and because I usually work with multicultural or diverse group of kids, I always tap into the different languages that are present in the group. And so I have a song where I ask the kids, okay, what languages do you know? And how do you say hello in that language? So I start with English. Hello, friends. Hello, friends. Hello, friends. It's time to say hello. And then what languages do we have in this group? We have Tagalog. We have Filipino. How do we say hello in Filipino? Kumusta kaibigan? Kumusta kaibigan? Kumusta kaibigan? Kumusta kayong lahat? And then as we go through everyone in the room, I want every language to be represented in that song. Then I bring the audience to the stage. And it's before that, I want to share with you how I usually begin the presentation with kids. So I would ask them, okay, how many doors do you see? 3. Well, these doors, they need some magic words. They can't just open like this. Who knows magic words? And usually the usual magic word would be,
Abracadabra.
okay, let's try abracadabra. Abracadabra. Oh, it worked. Okay, let's start the story with, oh, okay, this is not a story. I forgot to take these out. It's a puzzle, but I'm not sure if you still like puzzles at your age. Do you still like, very young kids would be like, yeah, we like puzzles. But these puzzles that I brought today, they're more for maybe like 5, 6-year-olds, maybe even 7. But let's see. This is a rebus puzzle and it's about countries. Can you guess what country this is? Any guesses?
Chili.
Is it Chile? It's Chile. How about this? What country is this?
Oh.
What animal? Is it Qatar? Qatar. It's Qatar. How about this? What country is this?
Thailand.
Thailand. It's Thailand. Oh, this next one, if this was level 2, the next one will be maybe level 2.5. What country is this?
Oh.
New Zealand.
Zealand.
New Zealand.
It's New Zealand. Oh, and this, okay, the last one, I think it's the last one, level 7. Can you figure out what country this is?
Ah.
At this point, it's really the adults in the room that are more like,
Madagascar.
it's Madagascar. So you can have simpler rebus puzzles for younger kids. So again, so this is country, so they might need to have a bit of background about concept of country and familiar countries. So with younger kids, you can probably have rebus puzzles with animals or nature or colors, sort of thing. Okay, so let's begin our story. The Wave. Ooh. Here we have a wave. Can we make the wave a little bit bigger? Let's use our fingers, use our breaths to make it bigger. And one more. Ooh. Do you want to make it even bigger? Well, maybe we can use 2 of our hands and maybe 5 big breaths. Now that's a lot bigger. And the wave has finally reached the shore. What did the wave see on the shore? The waves on the beach go in and out, in and out, in and out. The waves on the beach go in and out all day long. What did it see? Ah, starfish. What else do the waves see on the shore? The wave on the beach go in and out, in and out, in and out. The waves on the beach go in and out all day long. What did it see? A crab. And then at this point, you can also add a little bit of music and movement. So it could go, the crabs on the beach go snap, 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 snap. The crabs on the beach go snap, 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 all day long. What did the waves see next? The waves on the beach go in and out, in and out, in and out. The waves on the beach go in and out all day long. Ooh. Bottle. Do water bottles live on the beach? It doesn't, right? Well, what do? Get up and throw it in the bin. If you have a recycling bin, that's even better. Boop. See what the wave saw next. The waves on the beach go in and out, in and out, in and out. The waves on the beach go in and out all day long. A shell. See what else the waves saw. The waves on the beach go in and out, in and out, in and out. The waves on the beach go in and out all day long. Oh, it's a chips bag. Does this belong on the beach? No, it doesn't. So what do? We get up and we throw it in the recycling bin. Beep, boop. What else did the waves see? The waves on the beach go in and out, in and out, in and out. The waves on the beach go in and out all day long. Ooh, turtle eggs. Ooh, what do you do with the turtle eggs if we see them on the beach? We leave them alone until they hatch. And we need to call the wildlife rescue and tell them about the turtle eggs that we found on the beach. And what did the waves see? Oh, where did the wave go? The wave went back into the sea. The wave. So, this story I created for a toddler group I was working with in Bangkok, and during that time, that was when a lot of them were interested about the sea, because a lot of them were able to go see the beach, and children of this age also are very interested in nature and animals, and so I thought of incorporating the different animals that they may have seen on the beach and the non-animals. So at that time too, we were teaching the kids how to segregate different rubbish in the school, and so I found like, oh, okay, this could be integrated in the story as well. And because of the nature of waves and nature of kids who are always moving, I thought of experimenting with a movable part. And so, and the pattern of the story as well would give confidence to the kids to follow along, to sing along, and move along with this movable part as well. And with this effect, so I used poster paints, and then this part here, I colored it in with white crayons. And so when you paint over it, because it's hydrophobic, it would create this sort of effect. And so I'm just post this. And what I found, so let me just share a little bit of my process when I think of stories for toddlers. There are a few questions I ask myself when I make Kamishibai for them. So similar to what Saki mentioned earlier, what do they want to see? What are they engaged with? What do they find? What is fun for children this age? And I mentioned earlier, very young kids would be fascinated with animals, with nature, with themselves, with family, with friends, things that are fast, big, and powerful, magic, fantasy, superpowers. Another question I ask myself is, what is their world like? This is very similar to what Saki mentioned earlier. What is their world like? What is the world of a 1-year-old, a 2-year-old, a 3-year-old? Because they can be expansively different. What experiences do they have so that they are able to relate to the story? The third question is, what can they do? What can a toddler do? Because if we as a performer is connected with that, we can let them show what they do. We can let them show off in that story space, and that will keep them engaged and make and feel good about themselves and what they can do. So for toddlers, they love call and response, repeat after me patterns, ask and respond to questions, or creating movement. So with a wave, like, can we be quiet waves? Can we be big waves? Can we be a big wave and then a scared wave? And so it allows for open-ended interpretation of what kind of wave that they want to be or they want to make. Another question I ask myself is, what is the purpose of telling this story? So what do they actually get from this story? What can children get from the experience that they have around the story? I shared with you earlier some of the concepts that I integrated with the story. So animals, the beach experience, and segregation of rubbish, and also call the wildlife rescue, if that is relevant to your environment and the kids that you're working with or the community that you're working with. And the last question I ask myself is, which part of the story can children participate in? Which part of the story can they tell with me? Or which part do I need to stop, pause, and then allow them to interpret, how big the wave they want to be, or what kind of crab they want to be, or how, what sounds do they hear when they put a shell against their ear, that sort of thing. Tara, how are you going for time? Oh, sorry. I'm sorry, I can't hear.
Yeah, so we're fine for time. I don't know if you want to answer a couple of questions that have come in. So Jackie is asking, are the cards originals or scanned and printed?
And printed, because like you, Jackie, I don't use originals. Yeah, because they get really floppy. Yeah, so they're scanned and printed, and I use the original. I drew on A5 sheet, so that it's not too big. So if I make a mistake, it's okay. But do it again. So A5 sheet.
So can other people order your stories then, or we'll have to get your contact information for that later. So another question is, do you ever use real props with the story, like a real shell or real bottle of water or bag of chips?
Not for this story, but I was actually considering, I didn't bring it with me, but for the chips, the foil pack, I was considering of actually putting a foil pack, like sticking a foil pack on the paper, so that it also creates that sound. So it's a full, a multi-sensory experience.
Yeah, it seems like you could really involve the kids in adding things that they find on the beach too. Okay, great. So those are the questions we have so far. So if you want to continue with anything, or we can.
Yeah, so with toddlers up to until 6-7 years old, even I find that 5 to 7 minute performances, like stories, are perfect for the attention span, for the engagement. And then I break that with a transition. So it could be a music and movement activity, a quick finger play, or just a quick like get your wiggles out sort of thing. And pattern stories are also very helpful and fun for kids this age. And what I like about pattern is that you can actually shift it according to who your audience is. So I mentioned earlier, the wave was created for an international preschool in Bangkok, where the children are able to experience going to the beach, right? Swimming in the ocean, because that's their environment. Whereas for children in other communities might be a different experience, or I would tell a different story, which would connect to them, or a story that they can relate to. And as Tara mentioned earlier, yeah, children can actually add to this. So I find that makes the story pretty flexible and versatile.
Anna, we had a question about, what do you mean by a pattern story?
Okay, so a pattern story is similar to this. So it's let me just pick up the cards again, because the wave saw different things. So it's just a quick introduction, right? So this is the wave. Let's make the wave bigger and bigger and bigger. So that's a pattern in itself. The size of the wave, the movements that the kids do with the wave is just getting bigger. That's a pattern. And then the different things that the wave saw on the beach, that's a pattern as well. So the chips, the turtle eggs, the shell, all these things. And so if it's repetitive. And so, yeah, so that's the pattern. And very young kids like this sort of story, even in picture books, or even in nursery rhymes, because they know what's going to happen next. They know what to expect. And with this story, I told this story many different times to the same group of kids. And the pattern reinforces their memory, their recall, their understanding, their participation, because they know after the starfish, they will see crab. And they feel really good about, yeah, I know what's going to happen next.
Great, thank you. So we have another question from April. Do you create your own stories, or do you have any suggestions of repetitive stories which work well with this age?
Yeah. I create my own stories. I borrow stories as well. And pattern, it depends on what children in your care are engaged with, or what their experiences are like. I have a story, for example, I think I've presented that a couple of times, about the balloon. And so this, I understand kids would be interested or would have had attended birthday parties with balloons. Maybe less balloons now in Australia for environmental reasons. But yeah, but that's a good pattern story where, okay, so this is the balloon, or this object looks like the balloon. Let me just quickly grab my balloon story so that I can show those who haven't probably seen it before. Because the peekaboo elements of Kamishibai is what works best with toddlers. And so you can really play around the hide and seek storyline or plot line for these things. It's interesting because when I tell the wave story in Filipino, I tell it in a different way, where it's where is the wave? Where did the wave go? And then the wave is playing hide and seek with the audience, just like the balloon. So it's a story where the balloon disappears. It was swept away by the wind. It disappears, and this is what the balloon looks like. It's yellow, and here is our balloon. It's yellow and it's round, and it's not the balloon, it's a butterfly. This is the balloon because it's yellow and it's black and yellow and black. No, it's a bee. So again, this is a repetition. It's a pattern. We think this is our balloon, and at this point, the kids are like, no, no, but it is. It's yellow. It's just a bicycle tire. So this is a big hit. Children, because they know you're tricking them, but they're playing along, and they want to be wrong.
Yeah, there's a Japanese Kamishibai storyteller creator who has like a big hole in the picture, or different shapes that are cut out, and then you see the card behind, and the children have to guess what's going to be coming out of that shape. So yeah, that's a wonderful way of engaging them. So Jackie's asking or saying, one of our early childhood educators here suggests when planning a session to think about the balance of the known, the familiar, and the new. When losing attention, suggests returning to the known. Does that make sense? So I guess she's asking if that makes sense to you.
Yeah, because it's children like certainty, especially very young kids, and if you give them what they know, that would they feel confident that I know where this is going. Ask me anything, I can do it. And then you throw in something that is not so usual or an unknown, and that would make them think, what could this be? but they're already with you, and they feel that they can trust you, that they, you're giving them, you're having a good back and forth, a good relationship at that point in the story. And then they will make their guess and then throw another unknown until, because you, as storytellers, we rely on the feedback of the audience as well. And with very young kids, you get really, transparent feedback, that they're with you or they're not with you anymore, or this is too easy, this is too this, or you'll get it too. You'll get it from them.
Great, thank you. I'm going to bring both you and Sakiko together, and I have a couple questions for both of you. So let's go back to gallery, and I think if I let's see, if I pin both of you, maybe you'll be visible, and I'll ask Saki to unmute. So let's see if I can pin Anna as well. There we go. Now I see both of you anyway. I hope everybody else does. So one of the questions we had was, when you're working with really little children, and like Saki's picture showed, the children trying to reach inside the stage right, to get the lollipops. How do you how do you react to that, or do you have ways to sort of continue the story when that gets a little overwhelming? So Saki, maybe we can start with you.
Yes,
日本語でも大丈夫です。
目で eye contact. So, shut up. No, shut up. I don't say don't move, shut up, but my eyes said, but softly, gently, and I continue, and that's okay.
Yeah, so when they're getting that excited, using eye contact can help them realize there's more to the story, and they'll settle down. Anna, do you have any suggestions?
I found, because when I like to get close to the kids, so almost at their height. It's really easy for them to stand up and come to the stage. And so before I begin the session, I prepare the parents as well, so the carers of the kids, on how to, I set up the physical story space, and it's really communicating with them, like what sort of engagement I would like them to do. So it's either, like I put paper tape around my like outside of that stage, and I have a quick song that I after the hello song, like, everybody take a seat, everybody take a seat on the floor. And so when kids start standing up, coming towards the stage, I do that action. Or if there are a lot of them coming, touch a stage, so we do the action and the song together, and so it brings them back to their physical space. And so there are kids who are very, very quick. So 2-year-olds are the quickest people on the planet, and so I know, like, okay, I need to secure my stage, so I just put my hand on the stage just in case, like they have superpowers. And then I invite them to sit down with the song, or I communicate directly with the carer, like, hey, please make your
Great, thank you. Did you want to add anything, Saki, or I noticed you brought your stage. So the other question that I had was, because I know in Mexico and in Australia and the Philippines, there aren't so many published Kamishibai. And if parents or other educators want to create their own, do you have any suggestions for how to go about that, or how to make Kamishibai more available? You can start, Anna, maybe?
Yeah. So they can, because there are free resources online. And if maybe I can share that later. If they can and they want to, they can create a 4-picture Kamishibai story with their child. So basically, like, what is the story about? Is it about the family pet? Is it about the child? Is it about, a favorite character? And then what is happening in the story? So for example, it's a family pet. So it's a dog, for example. Okay, what is happening? The dog's chasing the cat, for example. And then what happened next? And then what happened last? So it can be as simple as that. What's the story about? What is happening? What happened next? What happened last? Or could also be the child's favorite song or a joke. So for example, like you can chunk the lyrics of the song or the lines of the joke, and then you can get like A5 sheets, small sheets of paper, and then the carer can draw, and then you can let the child color it in, and then you can tell the joke or sing the song as you're sliding the cards in and out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I would just like to add that children love making their own stages too. I've had some amazing stages made out of like cereal boxes and with lace and snaps and all kinds of creative stages. So yeah, to encourage them to do that. So Saki, do you have any suggestions? 出版印刷紙芝居は少ないので、例えば、親たちは、さきさんの素晴らしい紙芝居を見て、自分で作りたいと思ったときに、どんな指導か、サジェスチョンがあるかっていうこと。
はい、シェアしますね、今。
はい。
ですね。maybe they can collaborate like that. So the children draw and お父さんとかお母さんが色を染めたり、children draw and cut and, no? And so they can collaborate. And like this. どれだっけな。そうですね。さっき色を染めて、それをなんだろう、切って貼ったり。Examples.
So Saki is suggesting that the parents and children can collaborate, and these are different examples, but in this case, the children draw and then the parents help to color in. And then the last one was colored paper to make a collage, I think. So they can really work together to create these beautiful, colorful images and create the stories together. So that's a great suggestion. Thank you. Okay, let's see. So we have many comments to say that this was just really fabulous presentation. 素晴らしいプレゼンテーションだということを皆さんからいろんなコメントをいただいてますから後で送りますね。So I think we only have 2 minutes left and I don't see any other questions. If people have further questions, I'll go into gallery view so we can all see each other. Please feel free to contact me or Donna or Walter and we can pass them on to Anna and Saki. But I think as everyone is saying in the chat, this was really a wonderful workshop. Both of your presentations, I learned so much. So I want to thank you from all of us. And we look forward to seeing everybody at our next workshop in the new year. So thank you, Anna and Saki, for a wonderful workshop. And thank you, everyone, for coming. Bye-bye.